When I turned 65, I started noticing things in my body that no one really warned me about. The stiffness in my knees in the morning, the way my hands would ache after a walk in the cold, or how a small scratch would take forever to heal. At first, I thought it was just old age. But then I learned something that changed how I saw it all. Inflammation. Silent, sneaky, and often ignored. It's not just about swollen joints or arthritis. It's in our blood vessels, our gut, even our brain. It's what makes aging feel heavier than it should. And the truth is, after 60, this low-grade inflammation becomes one of the biggest silent killers. But here's the good news. It's not out of our control. In fact, some of the most powerful remedies are not in a pill bottle, but right there in your kitchen. So today I want to share with you a few simple foods, backed by science, that helped me and many other seniors fight inflammation naturally. This isn't a diet or a trend. It's about using food as a quiet daily weapon to stay strong, sharp, and independent. And believe me, when you make these changes, your body starts to thank you. Quietly, before we begin, if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. On Elderly Reflections, we share real stories, senior health wisdom, and gentle motivation to help you live well after 60. Because aging doesn't mean fading. Sometimes it's just the start of something more peaceful, more powerful. Let's start with the first anti-inflammatory food, salmon. Now, I know a lot of people my age didn't grow up eating it often. Back in the day, we were more familiar with roast beef or pork chops than fish with a name we couldn't pronounce. But let me tell you something. This one change can make a world of difference. Salmon is rich in omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, which are essential for reducing chronic inflammation in the body. I'm not just repeating what I read in a magazine. The Mayo Clinic, Harvard, and even the CDC have confirmed that omega-3s directly lowers C-reactive protein, one of the key markers of inflammation. That means less stiffness in the joints, better heart rhythm, and even sharper thinking. This isn't a trend, it's a tool, a weapon even, for folks like us trying to stay ahead of aging. And let me tell you about Jim, 76 years old, lives out in Oregon near the coast. Used to be a football coach, real sturdy guy, built like an oak tree. After retirement though, things slowed down. His knees started swelling. He said to me, "I couldn't even walk the dog without stopping halfway." His doctor mentioned early cognitive decline, maybe the start of something serious, but Jim wasn't ready to let go. His granddaughter is a nutritionist and said, "Grandpa, just try 2 servings of salmon a week." And Jim, being an old school meat and potatoes man, laughed and said, "Fish twice a week? What am I, a seagull?" But he gave it a shot. Grilled simple, just olive oil, lemon, and a little cracked pepper. 2 months in, the swelling went down. He told me, "I didn't think food could do this, but I wake up without that tight ache in my knees." And for the first time in years, I remembered my old player's phone number without writing it down. That's not magic. That's nutrition working like medicine. So if you're listening to this and thinking fish isn't your thing, I get it. But try it. Even canned wild salmon in a salad or on toast is a step in the right direction. You don't need to be fancy, just consistent. Because at our age, we're not looking for trendy, we're looking for lasting. Now the second food I want to bring up is blueberries. Small, humble, almost easy to overlook, but these little berries pack a serious punch when it comes to brain health and inflammation. They're rich in anthocyanins, a type of antioxidant that's been proven to reduce oxidative stress and slow aging memory decline. The University of Cincinnati did a study on older adults and found that those who had a cup of blueberries a day performed better on memory tests. That's no small thing when you're trying to stay sharp. And let me tell you about Helen, 82, from Vermont. A retired librarian, sharp as a tack most of her life, but recently started forgetting names and misplacing her keys. Her son started noticing little slips. One day she told him, "I walked into the kitchen and forgot why I was there." They were worried, but instead of jumping to medications, her doctor said, "Let's try some dietary changes first." She started eating half a cup of fresh blueberries every morning with her oatmeal. Within weeks, her recall improved. She told me over the phone, "It's like the fog lifted a little. I can read longer, I follow conversations better, and my crossword scores are back up." She laughed and said, "Who knew blueberries were brain fuel?" I tell you, sometimes the simplest things hold the most power. So don't wait until there's a diagnosis. Start now. Keep your mind clear by feeding it the right stuff. The third food is something most folks overlook. Olive oil, extra virgin if possible. It's not just a cooking ingredient, it's liquid gold for our age group. It contains oleocanthal, a compound that works similarly to ibuprofen. reducing inflammatory pathways in the body. The Mediterranean diet, which is high in olive oil, has been associated with lower rates of arthritis, heart disease, even Alzheimer's. I met a man named Carlos, 79, originally from Spain but now living in Florida. He said, "In my village we never used butter, only olive oil. On bread for cooking, even in soups." Carlos has no joint pain, no prescription meds, and still dances once a week at the community center. He told me, "My doctor says my blood pressure is perfect, my joints are good." I told him thank the olives. He uses 2 tablespoons a day, 1 in the morning on toast, 1 for dinner. Simple, consistent. And you know what? It works. So if you're still using margarine or frying in vegetable oil, it's time to make a switch. Your heart, your brain, and your joints will thank you. The 4th food is one that's starting to show up in every grocery store, and for good reason: turmeric. This yellow spice, often used in Indian cooking, contains curcumin, which has been studied for decades for its strong anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. The challenge is absorption, so pairing turmeric with black pepper boosts its effect by over 2,000%. I once spoke to a woman named Rosa, 74, from New Jersey. She struggled with arthritis in her hands and had trouble sewing, which she loved. Her neighbor, originally from India, suggested she try golden milk, warm milk, a pinch of turmeric, black pepper, and a little honey. Rosa thought it was strange, but said, "At this point, I'll try anything to hold a needle again." 3 weeks in, she called me and said, "You won't believe this. I can thread a needle again without pain. It's like my fingers woke up." That's the kind of story we need more of. Natural, gentle changes with real results. The 5th and final food I want to share today is leafy greens. Like spinach, kale, and arugula. I know, not the most exciting thing on the plate, but packed with folate, vitamin C, A, and K, and phytonutrients nutrients. The Rush University Memory and Aging Project found that seniors who ate 1 to 2 servings of leafy greens per day had brains that looked 11 years younger in scans. Think about that, 11 years. Now let me tell you about Frank, 80 years old, a retired bus driver from Michigan. Grew up on meat, bread, and coffee. Greens were on his radar, but after a health scare, mini stroke, his doctor said, "Frank, if you want to keep driving yourself and not end up being driven around, you've got to eat your greens." Frank took it to heart. He started adding spinach to his scrambled eggs, made kale chips with his grandson, and tossed arugula into his pasta. He told me, "I didn't think I'd ever eat something called arugula. But you know what? I feel clearer. I've got more energy, my blood pressure's better." My doctor was shocked. So don't underestimate the quiet power of something green on your plate. It might not shout, but it sure does heal. The 6th food that fights inflammation better than most folks realize is ginger. Yeah, just like the root you see in the produce aisle or that powder sitting in your spice rack. But this little root isn't just for cookies or tea. It's a powerhouse. Ginger contains compounds called gingerols and shogols, which have been shown in clinical studies to lower inflammatory markers in the body. I read a report from the University of Georgia that said ginger supplements significantly reduced muscle pain and joint stiffness in older adults. And the beautiful thing is, it's gentle. It doesn't mess with your stomach like some over-the-counter meds. Just couldn't turn the way I used to. That broke her heart. Her doctor mentioned surgery down the line, but Elaine wanted to try everything else first. So she started making a ginger tea every morning. Just a few slices of fresh ginger, boiled with lemon and honey. Within a month, she said, "I'm not twirling just yet, but I can walk without wincing. I even danced at my grandson's graduation." Now that's progress. And it didn't cost her more than a few cents a day. That's the thing about ginger. It doesn't need to be fancy. You can shave it into your stir fry, add it to tea, or even buy it as capsules if you don't like the taste. It works quietly, but it works well. Now the 7th food I want to share with you is walnuts. I know, nuts can seem tricky for some of us with dental issues, but stay with me here. Walnuts are high in alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 that reduces inflammation, protects brain function, and even supports heart health. The Journal of Nutrition published a study showing that people who ate just a handful of walnuts 5 times a week had lower levels of inflammatory biomarkers. And it's not just the omega-3s. Walnuts also have polyphenols which fight oxidative stress. One of the root causes of it. His son brought him to one of my talks, and afterward Harold said, "I don't trust pills, but if you're telling me nuts help my joints, I'll chew on that." He started adding crushed walnuts to his oatmeal every morning, sometimes just a handful as a snack. 3 months later, his son told me, "Dad's out in the shed again, carving like he used to. He doesn't complain about his fingers locking up anymore." That's the kind of result we like to see. Natural, steady, real. And if chewing whole nuts is tough, you can chop them, grind them into a butter, or stir them into yogurt. It doesn't take much. Just make it part of your rhythm. You know, I've been thinking a lot about what all these stories have in common. Jim with his salmon, Helen with her blueberries, Carlos and his olive oil, Rosa and her turmeric, Frank and his greens, Elaine sipping her ginger tea, and Harold crunching on walnuts. They're not celebrities, not doctors, not trying to impress anyone. They're just ordinary seniors, like me, like you, who decided they didn't want to feel helpless anymore. And that's where the shift happened. Not in some clinic, but right at their own kitchen table. I've seen this pattern over and over. People wait too long, thinking it's too late to change. But here's the truth I wish more of us would accept. The body listens even after 60, even after 70. You feed it right and it responds. Maybe not overnight, but it will respond. You see, inflammation doesn't care how much money you have, how big your house is, or how many vitamins you bought last year. Let me tell you something personal. I used to wake up every morning with my fingers stiff, couldn't open jars, typing an email felt like punishment. I just thought it was arthritis creeping in, and maybe it was, but then I remembered something Rosa said. I gave my body something warm and natural instead of something fast and packaged. That hit me. I looked at my habits. Microwave meals, too much red meat, barely any color on my plate, so I made a deal with myself. One new food a week. That's it. First came spinach in the morning omelet, then salmon instead of sausage, blueberries on my cereal, turmeric and warm almond milk before bed. Within 6 weeks, my hands told me the truth. The swelling went down. I could write again. I could play with my grandkids without having to rest my hands. You want to talk about motivation? That's it. Being able to do life without being held hostage by your own body. What I've noticed is that most people over 60 don't need motivation. They need permission. Permission to slow down and care for themselves. Permission to make small changes without waiting for a diagnosis. Permission to believe that healing is still possible. And I'm here to tell you, it is. And it doesn't have to be complicated. We don't need 12-step detox plans or $300 0-cent supplement kits. You need a grocery list, a routine, and a little faith in your future. Because your future doesn't have to be filled with pain, fog, and fatigue. It can be better. If you believe that one meal can make you sick, you better believe that one meal done right can also start to make you better. And here's something else. When we were younger, we thought strength meant pushing through pain. But after 60, real strength is about listening. Listening to your joints, your digestion, your memory, your energy levels. They speak not with words, but with signals. Bloating could be too much processed food. Stiff knees, maybe a lack of healthy fats. Low energy, you might be dehydrated or missing fiber. These aren't flaws, they're messages. And if you treat your body like an old friend rather than an old enemy, it starts cooperating with you again. That's what these stories taught me. Let me share one more. A woman named Darlene, 84, widow, lives alone in Idaho. She emailed me after watching one of our videos. She wrote, "I started eating blueberries and walnuts every day. Not for weight, not for trends, just to feel like myself again." She ended the note with, "I feel sharper. I've started journaling again. My daughter says I'm more present. I just wanted to say thank you." You see, it's not about chasing youth. It's about reclaiming your presence, your ability to show up to your life, your thoughts, your people. So if this message found you today, maybe it was for a reason. Maybe your body's been speaking and you've been too busy or too tired to listen. Maybe you needed a reminder that it's not too late to change, not too late to feel better, not too late to live lighter, with less pain and more peace. You don't have to start perfect, you just have to start. And if this video gave you one small nudge in the right direction, then I've done my part. Now I'll ask you to do yours. Share this with someone you love, someone over 60 who might need a gentle voice, a little elderly wisdom, or just a reason to hope. Hit like if this helped you, leave a comment and tell me, where are you watching from? I love seeing how far these reflections travel. And don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Reflections for more real stories, senior health advice, and life lessons from people who've lived long enough to know what really matters. Until next time, eat with care, live with purpose, and never stop learning.